When it comes to driving the roads here in Florida, are you protected? Do you have uninsured motorist coverage? Do you even know how it works? Here to explain is the senior partner of Catania and Catania, Peter Catania. Good morning. Good to see you again.
You as well.
Oh, we got everybody here in the studio talking this morning about what we're bringing up today.
It's a very kind of relevant topic, isn't it?
Yeah. So uninsured motorist coverage. We were saying that I think some people maybe assume they have it or they're fully covered. I mean, there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to this.
And so there are multiple coverages on an automobile insurance policy. Each one has a different application. And you may or may not use it, enforce it, or otherwise, depending upon your circumstances after an accident. So the first one you talked about is what we call uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage.
Okay.
All right, so let me try to be as basic as I can. So it means when the at-fault party either does not have what's called bodily injury liability, cannot pay for your medical bills and injuries, either they have insufficient coverage, and let's assume for the purpose of our discussion they have $10,000 in bodily injury liability. If it's a severe enough accident, you're going to go through that $10,000 on your way to the emergency room, right?
Oh, geez.
And without that insurance, the likelihood of actually getting any kind of financial recovery for financial losses you're going to take as a result of a serious accident you've been seriously injured in is almost next to impossible. So what it does is you buy it on your own policy, and it covers or picks up where the at-fault party's insurance left off.
Okay.
So assume they have zero. Well, then you're going to make your entire bodily injury claim, though it's supposed to be against the at-fault party, against your own policy under your uninsured motorist coverage.
Okay.
Which theoretically is supposed to compensate you for your damages that you suffered as a result of that uninsured motorist's negligence. They don't have the coverage. You bought the coverage, so then you can fall back on your own policy on uninsured motorist. Let's assume now that you're underinsured or the at-fault party is underinsured. And we talked about that theoretical $10,000 policy. Let's say your medical bills and injuries, etc., add up to $25,000, but that party's insurance company only has $10,000 to offer you to offset the damage of $25,000 you've suffered. Your UM coverage now will kick in from that $10,000 and will pay you the difference of $15,000 to fully compensate you for the damages caused by that underinsured negligent motorist.
From your perspective, from your years in the business, what do we need to be making sure? And I mean, are these the questions that we need to fully understand?
So when your agent tells you you're fully covered, make sure you understand what that means. Don't just take comfort and say, oh good. Because oftentimes what we find out is when a client calls or a potential client calls that they say they're fully covered, but what they really don't understand is that they have the minimum mandatory coverage to legally register their car and be on the road. But they're far from fully covered and oftentimes have exposure way beyond the policy they have without understanding that the coverages are the minimum mandatory, not the maximum.
Well, and let's talk about the state of Florida, too. How important is it, particularly in our state? So,
yes, Florida's a big tourist state, and there's a lot of folks who are what we would refer to as transient. There's no insurance oftentimes on any of these accidents whatsoever. So if you come to me and there's no insurance, no matter how righteous your cause is and how severe your damages are, it could be catastrophic. It could be a death case. It could be something paralysis or otherwise. If there's no coverage and you have no uninsured
from the at-fault
no bodily injury liability on the at-fault driver, and you have no uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage, you can get the best lawyer in the country, and the chances of actually collecting $1 to offset the loss you've suffered is very, very unlikely.
So the take home here, I would imagine.
Anytime your policy renews, please ask your agent, do you have underinsured motorist coverage? And you want it in the maximum amount of coverage you can afford.
Okay.
And make sure you have it. And there's what's called a rejection selection form that must be signed.
Okay.
Make sure you understand that you're selecting it, you're not rejecting it. And though it's an extra premium, the cost is minimal compared to the ability to sleep at night. And know that, God forbid, you find yourself in that kind of a scenario, that you'll be taken care of.
Yeah. Peter, always such a pleasure to have you in. We appreciate it. We know you're very busy. I know your team does offer free consultations, right? Maybe that first initial questions that people may have.
Please feel free to call. There's no question that's silly or otherwise not worth our time.
Maybe if they even have an auto insurance, they're like, wait a minute, what?
And we'll be happy to give them some answers and
Okay.
guide them through that process. If it's time to renew and they have a question, feel free to call the office. Yeah.
Well, and there's the contact information there. So we look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thanks,
Okay,
Carly.
Peter.